Albert Einstein once said, the world will only be a better place if those who react when they ought to react. He further noted that being an evil man or woman does not mean you are committing evil, but being silent when evil is committed makes you an evil man or woman. So is true since the ongoing Anglophone crisis started in 2016, metamorphosing into a full-blown armed conflict in 2018, counting 2021 to date. We have seen how those who ought to react during the initial phase of the conflict, post-2018, are still silent and did not react when injustice was being committed, killings, kidnapping, assault, were being committed. They did not react when they ought to react. We are now seeing mass communication theory in full display as far as this conflict is concerned, where selective attention, selective absorption, selective retention is on board. People now decide on what they want to view. People now decide on what they want to hear on what they are viewing. And people now decide to retain what meets their political agenda, what meets their financial agenda, and what meets their personal interest in the economy of war, to retain it, regardless of whether the discussion is objective in moving the nation forward or not. And this has further complicated things in resolving the armed conflict, which is counting to 6 years now. However, when the Kumba District Hospital was attacked, we saw and we heard prominent elite from the Northwest, Southwest region, West Cameroon, call it regardless of the name and the political cap you wear. We saw how they condemned the incident. Top political parties, Baron, also condemned the incident and called for an independent investigation, despite the fact that Mr. A was pointing Mr. B was accusing Mr. A about the attack. However, the government was quick to release a communique detailing how the incident occurred, condemning it and stating that the attack at the Kumba District Hospital was against national and international law. By international law, experts say the government was referring to the respect of Geneva Convention, which during war, hospitals, churches, schools, refugee centers are not to be attacked by the warring factions. However, this is not the case. Last week, we read a press release that came from Shishong, or the St. Elizabeth Hospital in Shishong, Kumbu, detailing the invasion, the attack, threat to kill, brutality, threat to set the hospital on fire by people described in the communique detailing as elements of Cameroon security forces, well armed, moved around the hospital in search of what they captioned Amber Boys. Yet none of them were spotted in the hospital, and that the sister who called the or who is directing the hospital was threatened to be shot, and others were arrested and later on released after being intimidated. That is the security personnel. However, we are 1 week after the report came out. Cameroon's government, the Ministry of Defense, and other top regime barons, even elite from the Northwest region and Southwest region, who cried foul when it occurred in Kumba, are still sleeping or are yet to react. Perhaps they have not read the communique. Perhaps they have a different agenda as far as that is concerned. But as Albert Einstein said, being evil doesn't mean that you must commit evil, but being silent when evil is committed makes you an evil man. National and international law, based on the communique from Shishong Hospital, has been violated. Yet, we have not seen an official response to that. Another glaring example is a recent killing in the Southwest region, when John Monono, the leader of the Nganya dance group, was killed and 2 of his dance mates shot. We have not had a concrete communique to explain whether they were either the armed fighters or they were not armed fighters, what happened or how professional or unprofessional the action was. Or we are waiting for more to happen so that we can open an independent investigation. Our leaders, fortunately, are Christians, and most of them are going to the Catholic Church. Today, we celebrate the Christ the King, and that means there is a sacredness of human blood. We pray that as we celebrate today, may it reincarnate in them the respect of the sacredness of human blood. Antony Blinken said no matter how equipped a military is, it cannot win a war or a conflict, that the root causes must be looked into. This is House of Commons with me, Tah Mai Javis. A happy Sunday to all those of you watching us from different parts of the world, watching us in the conflict region, in Douala, and everywhere you're watching us. To begin the program, I introduce to you my guests with whom we are going to continue our discussion. We are looking at the outing of U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and also the recent happenings within the Northwest and Southwest region. I begin by introducing Barrister Limen, who has been also a member of our program. He's coming here for his third time. Barrister Limen, a privilege to have you. Happy Sunday.
Thank you so much, Mr. Javis. It's always a pleasure coming to enlighten public opinion, and it's good we come and share our views to make Cameroon a better place. I greet your thousands of telespectators, and I pray that we're going to contribute immensely to make this country a better place, as I said before.
Thank you very much, Barrister Limen. Also here in the studio, we have Dr. Ngwamyam, father of Confederation in Cameroon. He has been piloting that, and to him, he believes that we can have a new nation if we all sit together as a people and discuss what unites us than what divides us. And what unites us should be based on economic and infrastructural development that build capacity of young men and women, and respect of the rule of law, and respect of the freedom of speech and democracy. Dr. Ngwamyam is a social entrepreneur. Dr. Ngwamyam, welcome and thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you very much, and I greet all of you out there who are listening to us. And as we'll be speaking today, you know, I was meditating at home, and I realized that we just keep going around and around in circles, but the issues are very, very simple. They're very straightforward. And yesterday, I was thinking of my father, His Eminent Christian Cardinal Tumi of blessed memory, and I was wondering if I were asked to remember him in a few words, what would I say? He stood for two things. Number one, truth. Number two, common good. These two things, he left them with me, and I will stick to them. And today, the Feast of Christ the King, we realize in all of that, it turned out that the most important thing that Christ was saying and who he is truth. And, you know, it doesn't matter what we are going through in Cameroon, in the world, and so on, something is lacking from our soup, truth. That's the salt that is missing. And when we move away from the truth, we are going to run into all sorts of difficulties and problems. And the only solution is to seek for that truth and come back to it.
Thank you very much. Also here in the studio, we have Barrister Tamfu. Barrister Tamfu, it's a privilege to have you. It's been a difficult week from your end, addressing members of the press corps and African leaders, in which he was clear that no matter how equipped a military may be, it can never win an armed conflict, that the root cause of conflict must be looked into.
That's right. There was nothing new in what he said, because it's truth. You know, there is no truth that any human being can come up with. It doesn't exist. All truth is out there, and you can only revive it, dust it, because you forgot about it. But truth is truth. It never decays. It never goes away. It's always there. If you neglect it, it will sit in the corner and wait until the day you are wise enough to dust it off and make use of it. And it is only when you face the truth that you are wise. When you don't face the truth, you will act foolishly until your foolishness either kills you or gets you extinct or something. But if you continue to use foolishness to get out of a situation, it can only get worse. And only the truth can set you free. Like I was saying, there was nothing new that he said. It's only that when a grand frère, as we usually say, it is speaking sometimes, when he refreshes your mind about that truth, which you have been trying to ignore, then probably your senses wake up to some reality. And whatever he said, we've known about all those things in Cameroon and in Africa for I don't know how long. You know, many other diplomats have said it, church people have said it, all sorts of groups have said it. Even if you go and wake up a mother from our village and say, Mama, this is this problem, what do you think? She will tell you exactly the same thing. But here, probably it makes sense because we are listening to the guy who has all the guns, who has all the military, who has all the might, who has all the atomic weapons, and he is telling you that those atomic weapons and whatever might you think is not good enough. And if we are wise, we had better listen to him and start doing things properly. And to get it into context and to make us understand, I think I've said it here several times. We got a problem in Cameroon, a problem in West Cameroon. West Cameroon has a problem with the government. And there's been this fight that is going on, and we keep killing each other. It's a useless war. And to make it very clear to everybody who cares to listen, I have said it several times, if you bring even an atomic bomb and go to West Cameroon and kill everybody and burn the grass so that nothing can grow again for 50 years, you still will not have solved the Anglophone problem. So let us be wise and listen to to this diplomat from the US. Listen again, try to understand what he's saying and put that to practice and use our wisdom and stop this killing, because there's no need counting the dead on this side, on that side, and rejoicing and crying. This ping pong doesn't make sense. And in all of that is the Cameroon nation that is suffering. And I think President Paul Biya has got a solution to this, and we should look forward to it.
Barrister Limen, I'm sure I sent you the video. When you watch the video, what could you make of it in terms of your analysis as to the current conflict? Because many are saying that the US is, housing the people they call terrorists and claiming that they want to resolve the conflict. And we saw how members of Cameroon's parliament did send a letter to the US asking that those causing this conflict to be repatriated. Now the US actually is saying that root causes, could it be that because the root causes have not been handled, that's why the US is still looking at these people as freedom fighters or as defending their rights?
Mr. Javis, I'll be honest to tell you that when you look at this, what is happening in Cameroon, from international law perspective, you discover that it's not a very easy situation to be resolved. And to resolve situations like this, we have to be very honest and less emotional. I agree with him completely that the use of the military cannot resolve the Anglophone crisis. But you see, when I look at the crisis that we have, we need to identify, rightly as you said, the root causes of the problem. And for us to do, there is one truth that we must start accepting. Anglophone problem is not in a unique phase. Because we have those who are federalists, who have their revendications, and we have those who are secessionists. So in each of those statements, unionists, but I'm talking about the two main factions.
Yes.
You see, so when you want to resolve, when you look at solutions to resolve the current crisis in Cameroon, you must first of all identify those various groups and see what solutions can be used in solving the problems. Now, the solution in solving the Anglophone crisis that most of us are part of, which is that we want federalism, is not the same solution you will use in resolving the Ambazonian crisis. They want secession. Now, in all that, I look at the government and said they found themselves in a very, very tight corner because they failed to do the right thing at the right time. Yes, because Ambazonian has been existing since we joined the French Cameroon.
1972.
Yes, it has been existing, but they didn't have the good base to bring out their grievances and maybe to carry arms and do whatever they're doing. The majority of Anglophones were still believing that they could get back to federalism. But you see, when they started revendicating some of those rights which are directly linked to the state of the form of the state, the government intervened so badly and then the population or the Anglophones who looked at, who wanted, who were talking about federalism, they were so battered and beaten that they had to support whoever was coming to resolve the crisis, and then Amazonian took up arms. Now, so if you want to resolve this problem, you must look from those two perspectives. Are we resolving the issue of Anglophones pertaining to going back to federalism, or are we resolving the problems of Anglophone relating to the Amazonian? Whatever the situation, you know, it is the responsibility of every state to create institutions which can identify conflicts before they degenerate to crisis. And Javis, in every human society, there are bound to be conflict. Even right in our houses, we have conflict with our wives, conflict with our children. So there's always bound to be. The state failed to identify and address those issues. And unfortunately, we are where we are today, in serious armed conflicts done in gross violation of the international humanitarian law, which you cited, which none of them are respecting, unfortunately.
Well, you say the state fails, but the government has professors, have people who are teaching in state universities. We have universities that deals with conflict in Cameroon, Professor Ngole and the rest. These are top professors, and the state will tell you they organize a major national dialogue, AHO committee in Bamenda in 2016, in Bamenda for the teachers, in Yaoundé for the lawyers, and with all these diplomats we have, you say they fail. Are you saying that we don't have these people, or they are playing politics?
Mr. Javis, they are playing politics. That is the truth. Most of them, when they come from the side of the government, they preach. Indeed, they say what is not reasonable. And you've seen that upon everything they have said, nothing has changed. We need people who say the truth. We need people whose character are not tainted. We need people who want peace to be able to resolve the Anglophone crisis. And Javis, there is no way to resolve this crisis if we don't have a mediator. Because the two factions are already in their two opposite camps. The government say we cannot allow people to secede. The secessionists say we don't want to belong to this country. They have their anthem, they have their flag. You see, so we need a mediator.
Okay.
Yes, we need a mediator who will come to resolve this problem. If we rely on government officials, they have failed, and the majority, they are liars, are not honest.
Barrister Tamfu, Barrister Limen is bringing out a new dynamics that we have the two fronts. We have the separatists and we have the separatists. The separatists and the federalists. These are the two most active people in the Northwest and Southwest. However, we have the unionists too, but that the government must see how it can unite all these factions together. And he says the state has failed. I don't know if you buy his own ideology if the state has failed, because the government has given us, the Grand Measure National Dialogue. The government says they have given us the House of Chiefs. The government says they have given us the Regional Assembly. They have elected leaders. The government says they have created disarmament and demobilization centers. And if we are going to Boya, between Tiko, there's a big disarmament center that the government has constructed, which they say is going to help resolve the crisis.
Yes, Mr. Javis, do you know why this crisis continues to live what is living today? It's because there is a lot of hypocrisy, both at the level of the international community. And until we try to put ourselves in front of a mirror to really grade or judge ourselves, we will not be able to solve this problem. Can you imagine that when you look at the international community, they will tell you that no matter the arms equipment that you can have, you cannot win this war. But they are the same people who give subventions to the Cameroon military government. And to tell you the truth is that some of these people who are living in diaspora, who today are the front leaders of this so-called Amazonian crisis, they are there in America, in Europe, and all the like. And these people are with them in their country. So if actually they had the pains that the people of Cameroon are suffering, why can't they maybe group them, invite them on a table and say, okay, we know for a fact that you people are the front line in this crisis in Cameroon. We want to see how we put an end to this. We want to see how these weapons do not reach Cameroon, because all the weapons that we are having here in Cameroon are coming from those international partners.
Okay.
And even the...
Tamfu, excuse me a minute, let's take on this spot. We'll come back to you.
Okay.
This advert, that's supposed to go at 12:30. We'll come back to you, sorry.
Avec l'option English Pack DSTV, votre abonnement entre dans une nouvelle dimension.
It's so nice, it's so nice.
Cinéma, séries, novellas, les émotions sont plus intenses en langue anglaise.
That part is a little dramatic.
Vivez la Liga aux premières loges et la Premier League en immersion.
Brilliant, just brilliant!
Sur Nickelodeon, l'anglais est the superpower absolue.
For the surprise,
Please go now.
Avec E et One Magic en version originale,
Child, they go away.
la télé-réalité devient télé-reality. Et sur Africa News et Discovery, l'info et la découverte rayonnent worldwide. Boostez vos programmes avec l'option English Pack DSTV de Canal+ et ses 15 chaînes premium. Accessible à partir de 5 000 francs, profitez-en dès maintenant.
You're welcome back from that quick advert. Barrister Tamfu, you were talking about the hypocrisy, the bafiadans of the national and international community, especially the international community. But how dishonest is the international community when they tell us that we are bound by Geneva Conventions and that, you know, the international community respect protocol agreements at the same time?
Yes, I was developing the international hypocrisy to make you, in a simple way to understanding, is that you see we have some front-line leaders as far as this ongoing Anglophone crisis is concerned. For example, in the US, in the Europe, you see that none of these countries have invited those people maybe on a table to sit and talk, to say, okay, we know that there is an ongoing conflict and we know that you people are the front-line leaders. How do you think we can resolve this? And you see that even the arms that the Cameroon army is using back home, there are these arms that were supplied by this so-called international community. So there is a lot of hypocrisy at that level. So I don't see, they're not putting more interest or trying to see how to resolve this crisis. Instead, they come and give us proposals, which I welcome it, but we are not really seeing their engagement in trying to make this crisis to come to an end. We know the force that the US can have vis-a-vis Cameroon. We know the force that France can have vis-a-vis Cameroon and other international respectable countries. We saw the Commonwealth when this crisis came, when this crisis erupted. We saw them passing one after another. But what really have they done? So you think today that the international community is playing a fair game or a fair role? I say no. When you come back home, you see that even at the level of Cameroon, there is no sincerity. There is no truth in all what is happening. And you have the impression as if there are some evil hands in the government who do not want this crisis to come to an end because a lot of economic gain is being capitalized in the so-called war. And you see, look, for example, of recent, when you look the happening of events, you have the impression that either the Cameroon military has as objective to crush all the separatist fighters, or on the other side, the separatist fighters will have to kill or defeat the Cameroon army. So there is no point in time where you see parties are even struggling to come to a table to see how they can talk. We saw of recent that in Europe there was this meeting in Canada, but the government was not implicated.
The coalition with dialogue and
good. So government did not show face.
The people say the government sponsor it now.
For the information I have, the government did not show any interest into it. And that's the same way when government too will be holding its major national dialogue, it will show no interest in the...
You mean the second major national dialogue?
The first one that it held, saying that it was trying to see how to put an end to it, it didn't show any interest in having on board the separatist opinion. So just to tell you that there is deceit from both sides. And the regrettable thing is that it is we back home here that are suffering the consequences. We should not expect international community to come and resolve our problems. It's not when the diplomat will speak that Mr. Bia is going to listen. When some of us are here back home talking to Mr. Bia and he's giving a deaf ear. So I think we should instead hold, not even our leaders, because it has reached a point that we should not be counting on Mr. Bia. We should be counting on ourselves to put an end to this. And until we sit maybe on a common table and say, let's put an end to this crisis before it can come to an end. Because if not, we'll continue to be playing the ping-pong game, accusing these people, accusing this, accusing this. So I think we should take our responsibility before us now and put an end to this crisis. And for me, the way I think we can resolve this in a very simple way is that we, the Anglophones, first of all, we need to come to a talking table. We should be able to agree within ourselves, because even among us who are here, we may not be of the same current of opinion. So we need to, first of all, sit down.
But that's why CDN came now, to bring all factions together.
What is CDN?
The CDN, the Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiation, the recent retreat they had in Canada, where they said, okay, let's put together all the different ideologies, as Barrister Limen said, the separatists, the federalists, all the list, and let's have a common front.
Which is a good initiative, but it should not just stay in the diaspora. Same exercise should be carried back home, where that same gathering should be organized. And that is why I'll queue with Dr. Ning when he said he's looking at his godfather to be the late Cardinal Tumi. That was somebody, at least, that I respect so much, because had it been we gave him that opportunity to put down Cameroonians, Anglophone Cameroonians, to talk, maybe at this level now we could conveniently say that people who have the front line of thought are maybe the federalists. And from there, it would have been very easy to see how maybe we address this issue with the government clean and clear. But for now, we don't know who is talking in the name of Anglophones. We don't know who can say what and who has the right to say this. And that is why you see when some of these events happen, some people who have been on the front line from the very first day, condemning Mr. Bia of using this military option to solve this problem, have realized that maybe their voices are still not being heard, or that the government is taking the government is not even taking any interest into it. And that is why you see some of them have been reserved. Their lives are being threatened. When you try to talk, they say, no, you are not the person to talk. So we need to really, first of all, sit among ourselves, try to put out that difference between unionist, federalist,
confederalist,
exactly,
and
because those are other schools of thought. So I think that is the first exercise that we have to do.
Dr. Ngwamyam, you know, with all this much about the different factions, how do we bring these different factions now together, as Barrister Limen was articulating that there is need for the government to see how they can meet all these aspirations, but it must come with uniformity. They must come together and sit and speak as one voice.
That's right. It's very, very easy. First, let me comment. If you answered your question, I'll have to comment on what Barrister Limen said, and also come back to what Barrister Tamfu said, and then we'll begin to see some clarity. First of all, let us go back and define what the Anglophone problem is. It doesn't matter where you are or what you're discussing. If you don't put your finger on it clearly, you always kind of like go off track. There are two things that must be kept in mind. There is the problem, and then there are the different solutions to that problem by different groups. So at no time should we interchange the different ideologies of the solutions with the problem. At that time, you get confused. What is the problem? The problem of the Anglophones started in 1972, when that federation was abolished. And how does it manifest itself? It manifests itself in two ways. Number one, in that big word called marginalization. You can define in all its ways, say what you think about marginalization of the Anglophones is true. It's not a lie. And then the B part of it is this other word, bad governance, bold characters underlined. Bad governance has been an issue. So try and understand this. Bad governance when you are talking about Anglophone problem and then you are mentioning bad governance, Cameroonians of French-speaking expression would jump at that and say, we also suffer from it. It's true. So let's look at it this way. Cameroon is a dining table. On that dining table, there's a tablecloth that covers the whole table called bad governance, which means all the 25 million or 26 million Cameroonians suffer from bad governance. Now, on that table, there is a dish of hot water standing on that table called marginalization. And besides the bad governance, the Anglophones have an extra blessing of marginalization.
The hot water.
Hot water. I hope I'm communicating here. So you will now understand that when we effectively solve the Anglophone problem, we would also solve the many problems that Francophones are suffering from, and we'll solve the Cameroonian problem, so to speak. So now, so what are the unionists? What is it when we are saying the unionists? Unionists are referring to these guys who say decentralization is the solution.
Effect accelerated.
No, it's a lie. See, listen, you see, so we have unionists. We have federalist/confederalist. Is that the English,
yes.
right? That's B. Then we have separatist, okay?
Yes.
And these separatists, you can also put them together and call them, technically they are Ambazonia, so to speak. All right, so we have A, B, and C. And the solution that government tried to bring to the table, they picked on the unionist solution, which effectively is decentralization and special status and whatever you want to call it. Watch my lips, which does not work, okay? Which does not work. That's not the solution. Say whatever you like from morning to evening. That's not the solution. Now, and the federalists and the confederalists are saying we can still live together if we actually sincerely tackle the problems of marginalization and this bad governance and get things right on a good footing. The unionists, the separatists are saying, to hell with it, we are done with it. It is a package that just needs to go, and we go and start our little thing and do it properly. Then there's some people, some unionists who try to cause confusion so as to, there's some separatists cause some confusion to show that the separatists are no good, and then some unionists also cause some confusion to say that the federalists and confederalists are not good. Listen to the unionists, for instance. They would say, Cameroon is one and indivisible. You see, those are people who try to use the English language to mess us up. When President Paul Biya says, Cameroon is one and indivisible, what does it mean? He means that you cannot take away part of the country, you cannot give away part of the country. That's in simple terms, that's what he means. But he does not mean that you cannot go into that country and repartition it in a way that makes sense. If you are going to repartition it in a way that makes sense, then federalism and confederalism would be on the table. But when unionists are trying to give the impression that when you are using the word federation and confederation, you mean Cameroon is divisible, they are all liars. Let us be very clear about that. Now, that said, what is bad governance? Let us understand what bad governance is so that it's a big word, we just keep throwing it around, and what does it mean and who is responsible for it? Because we need to correct all those things. By bad governance, I try to put down a few things here. Don't forget, my memory is failing me. We have poor human rights, okay? We have very bad economics, poor economics, call it anything. We could spend a whole day talking about the bad economics. Number 3, we have the youth problems. The youth have been neglected. And you know that the youth in this country are about 65% or more. And those youths have been neglected, and I will show you how. Then we have poverty-related issues. We have poor development in all its spheres. Take development, define development the way you want it. It is poor, and then there is no justice, and there is underlying all of this one is a failed education, it's a bad education. And so we have this big thing that we need to deal with. And if we don't, I'm trying to be very clear on this, whether it is CPDM, MRC, SDF, whatever, call the names, if you don't pay attention to this, I'm laying the foundation here, and understand what the issues are, if we keep arguing with each other and biting and kicking and so on without understanding this, we'll never solve the problems. And the bad governance comes from ENAM. If you go and look at the curriculum of ENAM, they are taught only one thing: maintaining law and order. Kick them in their asses. If they complain, kick them in their asses. If they complain more, lock them up. If they are naughty, kill them. But they don't teach them. They don't teach them to help the people to improve on their economics. All these things that I have talked about. Take all of them, take those people in ENAM, put them in a class and question them on entrepreneurship. If they pass, I change my name. So that is the underlying issue. And then you were talking about
how do we bring them together?
No. The other thing that Tamfu was on, he was about the hypocrisy. I would like to.
Yeah, I was going to come to you.
No. Let me just correct that so that the package is clean.
Briefly.
Yes. You see, I didn't even answer your question. I will do my own.
Yeah, I'll come back to my question.
Okay.
I'll come back. Briefly, sir, I get to Barrister Nkamwah.
Listen. I have a problem in my house with my kids and wife, and a neighbor wants to help me. That neighbor, it doesn't matter how hard the neighbor tries, he cannot help me if I myself am not facing the truth. And if I were facing the truth, the neighbor will not be useful in the first place. So when we have a problem in our house where a parliament that we pay for with our tax money, a senate that we pay for with our tax money, that senate goes to sleep, and they go to sleep for 5 years and they cannot mention it, and they keep playing tricks, and everyone else is playing tricks around. How do you want the Americans and the French and the Belgians to help you? So because this kind of thing of blaming the others is we are running away from our responsibility. And then just one last thing: the meeting, when Barrister Tamfu was speaking, he was mentioning, he was making allusion to the meeting in Canada where he says the government was not interested. It was not the business of the government. If the government were actually there, the damn thing would have failed. It was a good thing that because it was not meant for the government, right? I hope I clarified that.
Coming back
it was
to
not
you.
for the government.
Yes.
I didn't answer your question. Maybe
I'll come back to my question.
Okay.
I noted it when you were talking, and I didn't want to interrupt you because you were explaining something very important there. And Barrister Nkamwah Limen, the United Nations Secretary General, has been to Cameroon. That's the biggest organ in the world.
Yes.
Commonwealth has been to Cameroon. Francophonie has been to Cameroon. CAF has been to Cameroon. African Union, Musa Faki has been to Cameroon. ECOWAS, or the Nigeria, because ECOWAS, I think we'll talk about ECOWAS, they're talking about Nigeria. They have been to Cameroon. In fact, even the top diplomats have been to Cameroon. The French government has been to Cameroon. The Turkish government, the church itself that has been to Cameroon, and we are still in this conflict. Who then do we need to come to Cameroon? Is it Jesus Christ we're waiting for?
Look, Barrister Tamfu made a statement which is very right in it. When he talked about international hypocrisy, he's very correct. But I want to look it from the extension of jurisdiction under international law.
Okay.
You know, for somebody to be brought to court, right, that court must have a jurisdiction.
Territoriality.
Good. You see that some people were picked up from Nigeria. Why were they picked up? Because Nigeria accepted to recognize that extension of jurisdictions, you understand, which is under international law. Now, America and Europe, they play a game of sympathizing and proposing, right? Why don't they allow Cameroon? Why don't they extend the criminal jurisdiction of Cameroon?
The principle
which
of
is
extraterritoriality doesn't apply there.
No, there is an extension. There is an extension. And I explained to you in law. Once an offense is being committed, perpetrated, or cooked in a foreign country to affect another country, this country has a right. You understand?
What does happen now with the principle of extraterritoriality, which we are told that each state has its territorial integrity, and thus, if a crime is committed, that principle...
Mr. Javis, I evoke international law because at international law, all the states are simply parties.
Okay.
You understand? If there's no international law, we will not talk about on cooperation.
Yes.
If there's United Nations, it means that there is an international law regulating countries. And by this very international law, there is an extension of jurisdiction. That is why you could see that offenses that were committed in Côte d'Ivoire were resolved, were judged out of Cote d'Ivoire. You understand? Because there's an extension. So I accept fully with Barrister Tamfu when he says that there's international hypocrisy. Now, Javis, do you know that most of the crimes perpetrated in Cameroon have people sponsoring them abroad?
Yeah,
they are in America, right?
And Yaoundé too.
No, I'm talking about international. I'm talking about international. We know for sure that Yaoundé has its own criminals.
Okay.
But I'm talking about international hypocrisy. You understand? Okay. Nigeria accepted to recognize the extension of this jurisdiction. They were picked up. America will never accept. They hide under the umbrella of non-alignment, which you're just evoking. Yes. You understand? They hide under that principle. Yes, and that they claim to that they respect the principle of sovereignty. My brother, under international law, there is an extension of criminal jurisdiction, and they should allow Cameroon, therefore, to arrest those who are perpetrating those evil. You understand? Don't be even surprised that most of those people are not Cameroonian. Going by the law that we don't have double nationality, most of them don't even have the nationality.
Could that be the impending factor why the US cannot give that?
No, but if they are committing an offense in another country, under international law, they are duty bound. They are duty bound to stop such commission in their land. So I agree with him very fully. Then when I want to react to what Dr. Nick said, you know, we believe in coming with very complex solutions over simple problems. As a lawyer, I always believe in very simple solutions, and those simple solutions are easy. You can easily have them. When you start dividing unionists, you start talking about secessionists, you come back to no, Mr. Nick. There are just two factions: those who believe we can still stay and those who believe that we cannot stay. That is the truth. There is just two. Now, in that one, you can have those small, which are very irrelevant, because I don't see people talking about any option that maybe stay in Cameroon and going back to federalism, which was what we opted when we came to Cameroon. So, confederation has never been an Anglophone problem. You understand?
He's proposing that could be a way of solving the problem.
But for you to come up with a solution, right? You should be targeting a problem. That has not been a problem to Cameroon, to Anglophones. Anglophones' problem is let's get back to how we started this thing, federation. So let's get back to it. And so for you to resolve that problem, you must go by this. And to say that the problem started in 72, look, Ambazonian has been existing from when the Anglophone Cameroon came to this marriage with. Yes, it has been. So it's even before 1972. It has been existing.
1972. He's talking about the context of the Anglophone problem.
What I'm telling you is that there are two Anglophone problems, Mr.
Yeah, we have the Ambazonian problem,
yes, which
and we have the Anglophone problem.
Fine.
So he's talking about the Anglophone problem that started in 1972, and which can partially resolve the Ambazonian problem that started post 1961.
Let me be very honest with you. To resolve Ambazonian problem, you know what they're asking for now? Secession. And you know the government stands not so. And we all know that it is not possible to secede. We all know. You understand? And that is why I say that we need a mediator. A mediator will come now and let the Ambazonians know that you cannot have a country without having space. You understand? Majority of Anglophones will probably not follow you. And where is your territorial boundary? You don't have. You are relying on the former Cameroon, the English Cameroon. And now they will make them to give up something, give up their stance, and make the government to understand that this is your thing. You talk about decentralization, which is not new, because I see you people talk about it as
it's now accelerated. The government says it's accelerated.
Whether accelerated or not accelerated, do you know that thing was in the 1996 constitution?
It was decentralization, Barrister, at the time, but now it is not accelerated.
What is acceleration? What has been accelerated? So all those are just they use. What problem does it solve?
Special status.
What problem does it solve? So, Mr. Javis, if we have to solve a problem, you cannot bring a solution without identifying the problem.
Okay.
So the government should sit up, I think.
Thank you.
Let me just say something.
Briefly,
yes, just briefly.
Briefly, sir, Barrister would like. But I was expecting that Barrister to speak because you can.
No, yes. Excuse me, listeners. Sorry, I just took the microphone because Barrister was saying something here. Barrister Limen was saying something here. I just want to come onto it. I mean, it's in connection with our brothers and sisters in the diaspora who are committing crimes or helping you know, to commit crimes in Cameroon. And they are saying that those other countries that are harboring them are hypocrites because they could just bundle them and send them over to Cameroon like they were done in Nigeria. Great. But listen.
I didn't say that they should bundle them. I'm talking as a lawyer. You cannot interpret what I'm saying.
No, whatever.
I did not say they should bundle them. I said no, they could be an extension of jurisdiction.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, okay, that's law. That's law.
It's an extension. It means that the offense must be proven to have been committed,
right.
And then maybe they can be extradited.
As long as you can prove
All right.
that the offense was
Bundle
committed.
means that they just go and catch you.
That's law.
And the men's fee must equal to the actor's fee.
Yeah, so we have to prove those facts, then you extradite them.
I never
not
did know,
bundle.
but I'm using the common sense now.
Dr. Land,
I'm
so that we
using
can
the
get
common
to
sense.
Barrister.
I'm using that common sense now.
Tamfu, then come back to
I'm
you.
using that common sense now to say that when the problem started, probably the diaspora was not as aggressive in what they are doing now. And that international community told our government to sit down and solve the problem and get it done with. And if the government had actually tried to solve the problem and get it done with, and then the others continued with this activity, then they would have a reason to say, we have solved this problem, why are you behaving this way? But if the government has not solved the problem or attempted to solve the problem as it ought to, then the hands of those people in the international community are tied. It's just as simple as that.
As our government officials
Correct. Their hands are tied. Do what is right, because this is it. There's a new dialogue that is coming, and the right thing will be done. After that right thing is done, if they don't do as it has been agreed, that's when there will be problems. But as of now, the government has not yet done, for the past 5 years, done what was supposed to be done.
Barrister Tamfu, you wanted to react.
Yes, I wanted to react when you were saying that accelerated.
Yes, the government, by 1996, it was decentralization. After the major national dialogue, the government has baptized it to accelerated decentralization.
Okay, good. Let's assume that we are within accelerated decentralization. Assume this incident in Shishon happened like that. Did you hear the president of the regional assembly say something?
Can you say?
They had the incident in Kumba. Did you hear the president of the regional assembly or any of those house of chiefs say something? But these are people that with luxurious cars were bought with our tax money and given to them. They have been installed and it's known that they are working. But have you heard any one of them saying something? What is the public independent conciliator? Have you heard him say something? So that is why I say
maybe their hands are tied now.
Which hands are tied? That is why we see.
Hands are tied.
If we are not truthful to ourselves, we will continue to be beating around the bushes.
Even the arrest of the pregnant woman in Boya.
Have you heard any of them say something? Just to tell you that they are just like, I don't know whether they were just dishing them maybe their own cake or whatsoever, and they took it and they are contenting themselves. And that is what I say, we are not honest to ourselves. And until we face that truth, to say, no, let's try to put some truth in this issue, we will not resolve this. This crisis will go even for 20 years or more. So let's start from that truth. Let's be truthful to ourselves. We already know as a fact.
When you talk about truth now, I want you to lay the context.
Yes.
What do you mean by truth? Because Minister Paul Atanganji has been very vocal to say that the government has done its part and the Cameroon is a state of law, and the law is a truth and the law must be respected.
The truth I'm talking about is that, like Limen put it in a very clear term, it is either we continue to be in one Cameroon, or we have two Cameroons. That is the problem. Yes. If the government can accept that that is a problem, now the people who have the authority to manage should know the trend, it weighs where. Does it weigh in those who want to stay in one Cameroon, or does it weigh with people who want to separate? And from when you make that two distinction, now the other rest, like how do we manage? Is it the accelerated decentralization talking, or is it federation, or is it what? So it will be easy to manage that, and even the governance that we are talking about will be easy to handle. So if we don't face that truth to know exactly where we belong, we'll not be able to solve this problem. And that is what is happening. We don't know exactly where we belong. That is the more reason that, like I told you from the beginning, we must talk to ourselves. We already know the government stand. It is one and indivisible Cameroon. Yes, we accept.
And the other stands too. It is either separation or nothing else.
If it is the one and indivisible Cameroon, that is of majority, Good. Now, government should know that what may be causing problem is division of resources, management of resources.
Like bad governance, Dr. Nick said.
Good. So government should try to put in a place a mechanism that will permit that everybody will be able to fit and eat or participate.
Is that not a confederation that is doing?
Good. Which is, if it is confederation, that is the best. Why should it be a problem? It shouldn't be a taboo. If it is federation, which is a problem, which is the good option, it shouldn't be a taboo. But all of us have seen that there's what so-called decentralization or accelerated decentralization has not worked since 1996.
But that was
so
then.
We should not be. It has not.
Now it's accelerated now, Barrister.
That is why you say accelerated. You say accelerated, but since it has become accelerated with the general code on, there's a general code that it became accelerated. But we have been recording all these incidents. Who among those authorities that have cited have you heard him come to the rostrum to talk? So let's accept that it has not worked, and let's now be looking on another form of maybe the one and indivisible Cameroon.
Let's take on this video for the U.S. Secretary of State. I want us to come and talk about another aspect he mentioned, that when we are living in a radical world or a radical where we have conflict, it's difficult to respect rights, human rights, and that's why state must do well to prevent this before it occurs.
We must advance lasting security and peace. We know that instability and insecurity are at the top of nearly every Nigerian's mind. The same can be said for people in Ethiopia, Somalia, Mozambique, Cameroon, Mali, Niger, and other countries across the continent. The threats posed by violent extremists, by criminals, internal armed conflict, these threats are very real and so present in people's lives. So is there potential to destabilize nations and regions, to undermine development, to ignite humanitarian disasters. Part of the answer is effective and professional security forces and local law enforcement that can protect citizens while respecting human rights. And many of our partners across Africa want to build their capacities in these areas. But tackling the root causes of conflict is just as important, maybe even more important. Not everything can be solved with more or better equipped armed forces. And attempts to address violent extremism have at times had the perverse effect of violating people's rights, contributing to grievances, and furthering cycles of violence. We urge governments to contribute to and commit to criminal justice and security sector approaches that respect rights, as well as greater accountability for abuses, which is critical for earning the public's trust. We think we can achieve better results in confronting insecurity if we work together to expand economic opportunity, especially for young people and others who might be drawn into criminal activity out of desperation, out of a feeling that they have no other choice. And to resolve conflicts, we stand ready to support swift and sustained diplomacy with national leaders, with regional organizations, with international allies and partner citizens, including women, who must always be at the table when peace is negotiated, and also with international institutions, including the United Nations. That's what's happening right now with the crises and conflicts in Ethiopia, Sudan, and Somalia. African leaders and institutions have stepped up to steer the diplomatic response. African diplomats are leading engagement at the United Nations, the World Trade Organization, the African Development Bank. The United States is using our diplomacy.
You've listened to the U.S. Secretary of State, Dr. Ngwamyam. I'll begin with you briefly, so that I come to Barrister Limen. We have approximately 25 to 30 minutes to go. 30 minutes to go. Dr. Ngwamyam, an attempt to combat a radical Islamic or radical fighters, or to combat radicalism, have a perverse effect on contributing to violation of human rights that goes a long way to incite violence and push people to more divide and all this kind of stuff like that. And he says young people, need jobs and the rest. If they don't have this, look at this Islam, they are forced to indulge in crime and issues that may not be tolerated by a state.
Oh, thank you very much. When we start labeling Islam, this, that, sometimes we miss the
radical
point. Yes, those words, they help us to miss the point. what are the issues? The issues, let's rephrase the question. Why is there violence? Why is there violence? Once you ask that question and you think through things, then you realize that the violence is engineered because, you know, a lot of people are not meeting their needs as defined by Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And we have said before, time and again, that those needs must be met. You know, and within the triangle, you have 3 levels of needs, and out of the triangle, you have the transcendental phase. And at the bottom of that triangle, you have, you know, at level 1, you have the need for food, for water, for air, and excretion. Now, when you go to the 2nd level, you need you have the need for security and safety. On the 3rd level, you have the need for love. You have to love and receive. You have to love others and also receive love. And in the 4th level is ego. That's self-pride. And in the 5th level, we are talking of self-actualization. And then in the 6th level, which is the highest, is the transcendental phase, where you have met all your needs and you turn around, and then you begin to look at humanity and say, what can I do? And it is you are giving and helping that gives you pride. Now, so when people are fighting, go and look at all those masses of people fighting and listen to their complaints. Most of them are fighting for survival. We are talking about level 1 and level 2 issues. The governments are not providing those things. People are not able to meet their needs. Young people are getting mature and they cannot get married to have love and found their own families. Those are the issues we should be addressing ourselves to. We leave them, and the masses, there's this demographic outburst, they're growing and the masses are there, and we think that we can throw them in prisons and so on. The solution is not building more prisons. The solution is this. There is something that we are doing that is not right for 60 years, and we keep thinking it is right. The thing is, the children don't have food to eat. The children don't have where to stay. The children can't find their own families. They have lost hope. And that's where we should be paying attention. And once you are doing those things and you do them properly, there will be no violence from anywhere. We should forget about the violence. Let's ask ourselves the question, why is it that at 4 a.m., African youths, Cameroonian youths, they line up in front of the US embassy to run away from the country, to run away from Nigeria, to run away from Eritrea? Why is it so? If you can solve that problem and reverse the trend so that people start coming back, there will be no violence. So the problem, that's why I was mentioning economics, our bad education, and so on. If you can correct that, you will correct a lot of things.
Barrister Limen, yes, that we commit lots of crimes and violate laws because in an attempt to crack down on violence and radicalism, and that these problems can be resolved if we provide opportunities to young people within the society. When we look at this Anglophone crisis, where are we failing?
Okay, I'll begin first of all by adding something to what Dr. Nick said amongst the reasons why there could be violence. You can have everything that you need in life, but yet there's still violence because of maybe ideology. Ideology, Boko Haram is an ideological conflict. Good. So without, even when you have all those things, your ideology can push
like
you
the Taliban.
Like Taliban, Hezbollah, all those things. So we can still have conflict because of that. So you asked the question about where
are we lacking in all this?
You know, I agree on one thing that doctor said. He said there is bad governance. Believe me that if there was, which is not only geared towards Anglophones, because everywhere in this country is badly governed. Indeed, we don't have right people governing us.
He said the table is full of bad governance, and on the side of that table there's hot water, which is marginalization.
Look, we don't have up to 2 ministers that I can tell you that they are working for the interests of Cameroonians.
But we usually don't have up to 2 ministers. Yes. We have Professor Nalova Lyonga We have Minister Paul Atanganji, who has been very active in moving all the 10 regions, and everywhere we see him. We have Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph John Gute, who have been moving to the Northern and Southwest region to sue for peace. Joseph Betty Asomo moving around to Nkamwah for support to Jean Famendongo, the Minister of Higher Education. We have Issa Chiruma Bakari of Employment and Vocational Training, and we also have Alamin Usmani. We have top ministers who are ensuring that Cameroon move forward. They say we don't have up to 2. You say they are failing.
I repeat to you that we don't have up to 2, maximum 2, and they have failed.
What
that
barometer?
is the truth.
What are the barometer?
Look at the state itself. You will see. You don't need a magician to tell you that they have failed. Look at the state of the roads. Look at anything you can think of. Look at how angry people are in this country. You just need to make one small mistake and they start insulting you on traffic. Look at the way police people even fight. My brother, nothing is working. Look at the number of garbage. Let me tell you something. Move out of this country for 1 week. When you come back, just in our airport, you start discovering that you have come to a bad land. To be honest with you, even the way our police people will greet you, the immigration officer will greet you, it tells you that this place, it is a problem. Then you leave that airport as you are struggling to remove your things, the custom officers come, is another kind of problem. You understand? You get up from there, the bad roads is another problem.
Just when you leave the airport.
Before you reach, before you come to Akwa, you see traffic, garbages, everything, and then you just know that potholes. My brother, to be honest with you, Cameroon is poorly governed. That is the truth. We have all the resources, but we are poorly governed. Now, Anglophones are revendicating because we've tested the good side of governance. You understand? Before we came to meet these poorly governed kind of people, we have tested our own, and it was good. Let me tell you, my father was a policeman, and when we were young, in police barrack, there was during Christmas period, they will organize food, they will cook food, we will come and eat, all of us. Do you know that bread? They used to, there was a, I think they used to call them sanitary something now. Inspectors. Yeah. They will go to the stores. When the next day you will not be able to say the same bread you were selling yesterday. Am I correct? Yeah, you're right. Sanitary inspectors. That is what we used to have there. We used to have our power cam. Life was good, my brother. But gradually these people infiltrated. I call them these people because they invaded and brought the system that we have there.
Which is not working.
It is not working.
It could be that people are so rich that if the police organize this Christmas party, they will not come. Because every family
who first of all organize when they cannot give them uniforms? Police don't have uniforms. Do you know that? You know that they pay for their uniforms?
They themselves.
They pay for their uniforms. My father was a policeman. They would change their uniform all the time, give them this thing to cover the nose, give them back. Today they pay for their uniforms. That's why you see another person's uniform is not too the same with the other person's. That is it. They pay for their uniforms. So what governance are you talking about?
Are you saying that all these ministers are cited they have failed?
They have failed.
So
because let me tell you, but do you know that the president confessed that they failed? He has said it on many occasions now. Yes. That there is
2013.
Yes, he said it.
December 2013.
So is it a new thing that I'm telling you? He said it. Are ministers not in prison? Is it because they did so well that are in prison? Talk about COVID. Is it no rumor that they stole? So, my brother, what are you talking about?
Let me cue in briefly so I'll come to Barrister Tamfu. You talk about the aspect of territorial jurisdiction of criminal cases that the U.S. should give that Cameroon the territorial jurisdiction. But when we look at what happened in Nigeria, the Abuja High Court ruled in favor of the separatists.
Look.
And that there's no legal, the Abuja High Court stated that there is no, what we call the extradition treaty, that these people should be judged in Nigeria.
Look. At least they'll be judged.
Yes.
Are you getting me? Yes. At least they'll be judged. That is an extension. You understand? Crimes that were committed in Cameroon, they are being judged in Nigeria for it. That is an extension. And that is what I expected America to do. That Cameroon, you say we have professors.
We have professors.
Good. How many of them have come up with the idea that we could have an extension of jurisdiction, which is international law? You bring an action against those people for committing offenses in Cameroon. That's what I'm talking about. You understand?
And Salah is doing that.
So in essay, you said,
was he encouraged? Was he encouraged by the US?
Barrister, in essay, you say, I say we have professors. It means that to you, we don't have professors.
Professors are when they do things now. When you have a degree and then you cannot make use of it. Are you, what kind of professor are you? It's true now. To be a professor means that you are useful. Of what use will you be a professor when you start telling me that 5 giga is equal to 200 giga in those days? It does not make sense.
You are seeing the old technology. Talking about Barrister Tamfu, you followed the Secretary of State and talked about that, we cannot combat violence without, having an effect on respecting human rights. But you are a right defender. You have had cases relating to the Anglophone conflict. What stopped the elite to stand, or what stopped the political actors to stand and protect the rights of humans, especially when people are illegally adopted and the rest?
Yes, when you are living in an environment where there is conflict, there is bound to be abuses of human rights, just like what we witnessed in Shishong Hospital. Because, even when there is a known war, there are some places under international law that you should not violate. The hospital is sacred, the church, schools. But with what is happening in Cameroon, we have seen that those places have no meaning when it comes to international law. We have seen how in the Presbyterian Church, armed separatists killed people were worshipping. We have seen even the military itself, which I think should have been trained on how to regulate human rights principles. We see the military invading Shishong Hospital, and it's surprisingly that government has not made a statement, which to me is not proper. We have been living a lot of human rights abuses where people are arrested arbitrarily and then dragged to court and all the like. So is, however, those are the consequences of what we should expect when we live. Things cannot be perfect. So we should instead be striving and looking at how do we put an end to it, because all what the diplomat has said, they are not new things. All of them have been saying it. We all know these things, and we are not making any effort to come to an end of this conflict. And if we continue to live in the sphere of this conflict, we'll continue to register human rights abuses. So the best thing to do is not to be listening to those speeches, but to put those speeches into action.
How do we put them into action?
Yes. Like we have been saying from the beginning of this program, the people who have the powers to govern us have failed. Those are the people that could really be the people spearheading to put an end to this conflict. But now that those people have failed, we will not only continue to be blaming them. I think we too also have our own responsibility, our own little corner, to do what is necessary at our own level. If, for example, I know that, okay, within my own maybe sphere of competence, I can do this to put an end to this crisis, let me do it. If the ministers have their own responsibility, they should do something to put an end to it. And all the other actors, I think we should be more engaged in putting an end to this conflict than to wait for, I don't know whether God to come, and God will not come from heaven to come and help us. We are the ones to help ourselves. And until we do that, then can we now accept to live the peace we have to. But having in mind that what is happening today, when you try to do a census, the Francophone minds, to them, they have conquered Anglophones. That is what is generally being spoken. To them, they know that, no, we don't have to talk anything about Anglophones. And when you look at what is happening, you also have a fraction of those Anglophones who think that, no, you have to kill the last man. You have to kill the last man so that, or they win the war. So that is what is creating this difficulty in trying to resolve this conflict. Because when you even stand today to say you want to put an end to this crisis, you are being fought even by government officials who do not want it to end. You are being fought by separatist fighter who says that you are a blackleg or that you have taken money. So you see, it's making the whole thing complex. So I think, but what remains for sure is that we will not fight everlasting.
Okay.
There will be time to fight. There will be time,
as the Bible says,
for peace. So the earlier we move towards that peace, the better for everybody.
If you're watching us, we are open. If you want to participate on the program, our office is at Fengu John Bange in Koto, Douala. When you come there, you can contact me on the numbers on your screen. I will welcome you so you come and talk what you want to hear. So I come and talk to for Cameroonians to get you. People say, Javis, why are you selective in your panel? I want to invite you. Don't just sit on Facebook and you are commenting. Please come to Douala. Talk as long as you take responsibility over your action. I don't have a problem with you. Please come and talk. My number is 676-431-384. I'll send you the topic ahead of time and you come to Douala, we'll discuss it. I'll still continue with you briefly. When we look at, you know, the attack of Sishong Hospital and the way it was handled and the way that in Kumba District Hospital was handled, what makes it so different that the government cannot react to this? Secondly, a guy was shot in Boya under the Nganya as the head of the Nganya dance group. Till now, we have not had an official communique to tell us whether they were armed separatists or what happened, or the military acted professionally or did not act professionally. Yeah,
it's just to tell you that it's a two-way sword, where on the one hand you have the government who is very strong to condemn atrocities when it is the separatist fighters who are the perpetrators. We have seen them condemning the incident in Kumba, giving details. We have seen them condemning other incidents where they have clear proofs that it is a separatist. We have even seen them fast-forwarding proceedings when they are about to maybe sentence separatists. But on the other side, when it comes to their own excesses also, government is giving a sealed lips. Even the ones that they provide and they drag to court, you see that the way the justice even is being handled is not handled in a speedy way as the other side. That is why today you see government cannot communicate on what has happened in Shishong, same as they did when it was the Ngarbo incident. If not because of maybe
pressure,
civil society actors or other actors who came on board to say, no, government needs to account on this, government will not have accounted. So the incident in Shishong also needs that actors who or people who can advocate to draw like your media is doing, to tell government that this incident too has happened in Shishong. We expect that you should react and tell us whether they were in right to do it or not. The incident that happened during the traditional dance, yes, government should tell us. Government should be able to communicate both sides. Okay. When you do your own, decide to do your own selective communication, it frustrates what is ongoing. And tomorrow, don't be surprised that also when separatists will go and invade the hospital, you want to come and talk, and it will now they will tell you that you see that you have your hands will be tied. They will tell you that when it was this, you didn't talk, so we can also do it. So
Dr. Nick, how do we provide economic opportunities for young people in the Northwest and Southwest region to prevent them from getting into this armed conflict as the Secretary of State articulated? And you talked about bad governance. It's clear that bad governance is an issue, and also the hot water you talked about, the marginalization in itself. How do we restructure the mind? You have at least 3 minutes.
Oh, thank you very much. When we are talking about economic opportunity to youth, it's not just to Anglophone youth, it has to be to youths all over the nation. Because if you see what the Anglophone youths are doing now, the Francophone youths are also suffering the same fate. And let us just pray that this war ends as soon as possible, because if the Francophone youths were to learn the technologies that the Anglophone youths have, this country will go up in flames. So the sooner we act and stop this stupidity, the better. And like I said, the education has been very poor. We just go to university, to school, university, and study subjects, and then there are only very few boxes. You are a medical doctor, or you are a lawyer, or you are a judge, you are a policeman, you are a custom officer, that kind of thing. No, we have to move off that. You know, we have to innovate and try to do what China did, do what South Korea did, and so on. We have to bring technology into our nation. We have to transfer skills to our youth. Whatever it takes, we have to create innovative centers where we pull in kids, whether you studied art, science, or whatever, pull in kids and teach them some quick technologies, agriculture, and so on, and empower them to start putting money into their pockets, to start putting food on their table, to do whatever it takes to get the youth employed, to get, I mean, all this issue about concours, forget about concours, is no use. We need to change the model and make sure that economic productivity goes up. If you can stop the importation of rice and fish and help your own children to grow it so that the 300 billion you are spending every year, you transfer that onto our Cameroonian youth, it will be great. We cannot have our youth jobless and then we sell tree trunks, take the money and give it to the Chinese and people from Thailand for rice. I mean, rice is not even high tech. But let us start with the simple things and empower our youth to be able to retain this money. And as children begin to retain money, you see the level of happiness in the nation will begin to go up. That is what we must do. And as I said, the damn thing has been with our education. I don't know who gave us that kind of education and deceived us. That speaking very good English or very good French was the end result. No. They just deceived us and we were doing some things and having some long theses over nothing. We need to change the way we do things. And the whole economic thing has to change, entrepreneurship, skills transfer. It cannot happen without skills transfer. The word is this, DIY, do it yourself. What are those things that our children must do ourselves? We have to teach our children to do the simple things themselves. That is the bottom line. It doesn't matter. We don't have it, so we have to employ, to troop in, people from China, from India, from America, from Germany to come and teach our children how to do it themselves. If we don't do that, we are going nowhere.
Thank you. Here, Javis, please tell Dr. Nija I respect all his allegations and argument, but one thing is his promises to end the war soon. I am tired of hearing second branded, which just shot again in Bamenda, or maybe the second dialogue he's talking about. Barrister Limen, we are slowly out of time. How do we get out from this mess for now?
Okay.
And what is your message to the peace-loving people of the Northwest and the Southwest region?
Yes, I begin with saying that I just pray that our government comes to terms with the fact that they can actually not use war in solving the problem in the North, and that it is time we know that we belong to the same country and that we have to protect properties and lives. My message to my brothers, especially those who are having weapons, is that there is a time that no matter how wrong you must have gone, you can still make a U-turn and do the right thing. And I think the right thing is that we lay down those arms and then we initiate a kind of dialogue which the government has a responsibility to do, and maybe we'll look for a mediator to come and bring peace between the loving people of Cameroon. I honestly pray that they should know that in exposing our brothers Anglophones, it acts as a boomerang, because the military will always come back and the people who suffer are the innocent Anglophones, like the children going to school and other civilians. So I pray honestly that we give peace a chance, and that we should know that killing and destruction of property will not take us anywhere.
Barrister Tamfu, what's that special message you have for the peace-loving people of Northwest and Southwest region? Even those who are disagreeing with you on Facebook don't know that you have been defending those badly habitually arrested.
Yes, my message to them is that I understand we are suffering a lot. No matter the suffering, there is time that we should give peace a chance. And we should not only expect that it should be the government that will maybe come with a strong communication to say there is ceasefire or there is this. No. I think even the people who are holding the guns, whosoever is giving them instructions or whosoever is serving those guns to them, can they themselves group themselves and come up with a strong communique to say that as from today we have been fighting, trying to see how to protect maybe your properties or your interests, and today we think that for 5 years already is much. Can come out with a strong communication to say, okay, as from today, we are no more shooting or we are no more putting explosives. We are laying down our weapons. And I think even that government will see it as a victory upon themselves. It should not be seen as if they are withdrawing or that they have been won. No. I think by so doing, not only will they send a very strong message to the government to say, no matter how we fight, we'll always sit and talk and now look for avenues to see how to address this problem clean and clear. And you see that government has been showing a very strong face, though that's what we expect from the government, but we can also, on the other side, take it upon ourselves to say, okay, Those who are holding the guns say, okay, as from today, we are laying down our weapons. These are the avenues, or these are the people who have maybe through the various gatherings that we have been having, that these are the people that can talk in the name of the Anglophones or whatsoever. And you see that by so doing, we'll limit the destructions of these little developments that we're already having in the Northwest and Southwest. Today, when you go to Bamenda, it's a whole misery. No company is coming there for whatsoever. So when we respect Ghost Town, what help is it giving in the crisis? When we decide to destroy school, what help are we doing? So I think then we have fought. There's a time to fight, and there's also a time to retreat and rethink. And I think that the time is now, and we should rethink on the strategy. Going the military way or going through the weaponry way is not working, and it's not going to work. We have had brilliant speeches. We have read very good war books, and also we know that the military way cannot work. So even the separatists can come up with a communique and make sure that there is ceasefire in the Northwest and Southwest, and we observe the reaction of the government. It is only from that, if we see any bad reaction from the government, we could give ourselves like 1 month or 2 months. We see the reaction of government. If the government do not react, I think even the international community will see sympathy in the action that they have taken.
Dr. Ngwamyam, special message to the peace-loving people of Northwest and Southwest region in this difficult time.
Yeah, I'm reacting especially to the young man who says that I've been talking about this war coming to an end for quite some time now, and they're seeing no signs of it. I have to apologize to say that sometimes you read the writing on the wall, but there's a time factor, and you are not in control of everything. You put banana for fruit, you must ripe. So there is going to be, listen, there's going to be a genuine dialogue. I said genuine. That genuine means a lot.
Are you saying the major national dialogue here?
It was not genuine, it was a monologue. So we are going to have a genuine dialogue of national unity, which would be accompanied by reconciliation, peace, and progress in the nation. And the president is committed to it. And when we are talking about government, forget about the ministers and so on. They cannot bring you anything. Parliament, you know, it's been sleeping. It's only one person that can stop this war and bring that dialogue and many other things. It's President Paul Biya, and it will be done.
Barrister Limen, you are a PhD researcher and also a member of Cameroon Bar specializing in international conflict management. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
And it's been a privilege to have you. We want to appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Also, Dr. Ngwamyam, it's been a privilege to have you. Thank you for coming.
It was a great day today. Thank you.
A special feast, Christ the King, to you.
And it's about truth and love.
And of course, Barrister Tamfu, Christ said, "My peace I leave you, my peace I give you." It's a peaceful day. We wish you a happy Sunday.
Thank you. We should be seeking for peace. Peace has no price.
Thank you very much. You know, this program will rebroadcast at 10:30 p.m. today and tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. It comes up every Sunday at exactly 12. Please, to those of you who want to participate on the program, my number is on your screen. Feel free. We don't scrutinize, and you participate free. You don't need to bribe to be a participant on this program. The number is on your screen. You can get to us. I leave you with this: no matter the matter, what matter is your matter. No matter the matter, what matters is your matter. And what should matter for you this day of Christ the King is that human blood is sacred. The truth is God. You can only kill the teller and not the truth. If you kill the teller, the truth remains to haunt you. That has been my quote since the days of 2012. My name is Tah Mai Javis from Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, Fengu, Jombange. Bye-bye.